I'm recording this because I don't trust my memory anymore. There was a night when I should have crashed out or stopped or died. But instead, I kept driving, and somewhere on a frozen road, years ago, I met something I still don't know how to explain. This happened, God, I don't even know, 7 or 8 years ago now. Maybe 6 that I'm not really sure, and why life's been a bit chaotic since then. So my head's filled with all kinds of memories and noise. Anyway, this was New Year's Eve, back when I was still dating my ex. Due to that, we were on our way home from a party when everything happened. IT must have been well after midnight, because I remember being extremely tired. And I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that driving on New Year's Eve isn't exactly the smartest decision, but we didn't have a choice. The party was at one of Duda's friends' places, but we were late additions to the guest list, so there weren't any sleeping arrangements left for us. The drive was pretty long, maybe 30 minutes, give or take. The roads were almost completely empty, which I remember being grateful for. IT had snowed earlier that day, so the streets were icy as hell. Honestly, the last thing I needed was dodging traffic on top of everything else. Duda was half asleep in the passenger seat. I had the heat cranked up and some random rock playlist going, just to keep myself from drifting off. You know how it is that we were maybe 10 minutes from replace what happened, and I don't even know how to describe what I saw. 1 second, the road ahead was completely empty. The next, there was a woman standing in the middle of the street. She wasn't crossing or anything. She was just there, facing my car, like she'd been waiting for us. That my brain couldn't process it fast enough. I was already slamming on the brakes before I even fully realized what I was looking at. And then I saw the knife. She was holding it down by her side. A massive kitchen knife, the kind you'd carve a turkey with. My headlights hit her full on, and I could see her face twisted up like she was crying or screaming, or maybe both. It was sickening. I don't think I've ever reacted faster in my life. I yanked the wheel to the right to avoid her, and the second I did, she lunged at the car. I heard the impact before I understood what had happened. Even in the chaos of everything unfolding so quickly, I knew exactly what it was. She had swung the knife at my car as I passed. Even though I avoided hitting her, the swerve combined with the ice was too much. I felt the tires lose grip, and suddenly, we were spinning. Duda woke up immediately and started freaking out. I was gripping the steering wheel like it could somehow fix things. But the car wasn't under my control anymore. We spun a full 180, and by the time we stopped, we were facing the direction we'd come from. After the shock of almost dying wore off, I looked through the windshield and felt sick all over again, because we were facing her. She was maybe 30 feet away, still holding the knife, lit up by my headlights like something out of a horror movie, and she was limping toward us, trying to move fast, but clearly injured. She was screaming something I couldn't understand. Not words, just this guttural, incoherent noise, something that sounded more like an animal than a person. It was, and still is, the most terrifying thing I've ever seen with my own eyes. I remember Duda yelling at me to do something, but I was frozen. I couldn't look away. Her clothes were dirty and torn. Her hair was matted and wild. I don't know if she was on drugs or having some kind of breakdown, but there was nothing behind her eyes. Nothing. She looked like a dead person walking. She was maybe 15 feet away when my survival instincts finally kicked in. I threw the car into drive and slammed on the gas. The tires spun on the ice for a terrifying second before catching. We started moving. I thought we were clear. I thought. That was it. But of course, I was wrong. I don't know how she moved that fast. 1 second she was in front of the car. The next she was on it. She threw herself onto the hood, and I felt the whole car shudder. Duda was screaming. I was swearing. And this woman, she was clinging to the hood with one hand and stabbing the windshield with the other, over and over and over. I felt like she was trying to get inside, trying to kill me. I couldn't think. I just started swerving the wheel back and forth as hard as I could. She slid across the hood, but she wouldn't let go. Her face was inches from the glass. She was screaming that horrible, wordless scream, and I swear to God, her eyes never left mine. On the third or fourth swerve, she finally lost her grip. I watched her roll off the hood. Looking back, none of that made sense. But Duda had this way of making everything sound urgent and logical. In the moment that I drove home, I didn't tell anyone. I still feel sick thinking about it. The damage to the car wasn't even that bad. A cracked windshield, knife marks on the driver's side window. A few scratches on the hood, no blood. I got it fixed a week later. But the guilt stayed for months. I kept checking the news, waiting to see something. A body. A missing woman. Nothing ever came up. I don't know if that made me feel better or worse. Part of me thinks she got up and walked into the woods. Part of me doesn't want to know. What messed with me the most was Duda. She acted like nothing happened. Within days, she was back to normal. I brought it up once. She got annoyed, told me I was being dramatic, that we did what we had to do. I just stared at her, thinking, how can you be so cold? We broke up a few months later. Mostly unrelated reasons, but I'd be lying if I said that night didn't change how I saw her. Maybe I'm crazy, but you don't forget something like that. You don't move on in 2 days. Someone might have died that night. I might have died that night. That's not something you forget. That night wasn't just a terrifying encounter. It wasn't just a random moment either. That night, something broke inside my mind. Not because of the woman, not even because she might have died, but because of what I saw afterward. Indifference, how quickly it was forgotten, and the terrifying realization that some people can walk away from a nightmare and pretend nothing ever happened. Maybe the most frightening part of this story was the woman with the knife. The most frightening part was realizing that people don't react the same way. Some carry the wound with them, and some don't feel wounded at all. And maybe that's why that night never really ended. Because some events aren't meant to have answers. They aren't meant to be explained. They're only meant to stay with us. Remind us how thin the line is between being human and losing it.